pre-approval, it's going to have all the documents in, it's gonna have the credit report in, it's gonna be a full-on approval for the client with conversation, documents, and credit report. So far, so good. Do we have any questions in here? How are you doing it? Just go down.
Just literally roll one more.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, one of the other key items that a pre-approval it's gonna have, that it's better than a pre-qualification, it's gonna be the DU. And I know a lot of you sometimes don't even know what a DU is. I know you need it to put an offer in. Karol, can I get the DU? What does it mean? What does it do? No idea. But we need it because we need to put an offer, right? Or as the listing agent side, can you please send me the DU for your client? Sometimes the agent has no idea either why they need it, but they need it to submit the offer. DU, it's an automated desktop underwriting. What does that mean? The system that all of us as lenders we use has an automated system that we can click on. Then when we click on it, it's gonna run all of the buyer's information and do an underwriting approval automatically. Okay? So basically, it's kind of getting an underwriting approval on your file. It's not an actual person, it's a system, right? And they give you an approval. But on that piece of paper, it gives you all the details about the clients. It tells you what information we put in as far as income. It tells you the credit report for the client. It tells you what debt they have or not have. It does all the calculations, gives us the debt to income ratio, and says whether this client is approved or not.
And the conditions.
And the conditions. It will even tell us how much money they need and everything. And it will give us the underwriting conditions that we have to follow. So it's gonna tell us, oh, you're gonna need one more pay stub. It's gonna tell us you're gonna need 1 month bank statement. It's gonna tell me you need an insurance with this, and that. It goes into the detail of that client. So when you have that, let's say from the listing agent side, right? You know what that client's gonna need, right?
If you guys read the DU, so basically when you have to present an offer, you're handling the buyer, have the lender send you a full DU. Because many of you comes to us and say, oh, okay, we have the DU from the lender, that who is this client working for, and then they give you just the first page. The first page usually nothing, but if you go into the second and third page, the underwriter herself pulls her conditions from that DU. Okay? So the underwriter is gonna go to the DU and says, oh, by the way, we need a VOE. Oh, by the way, we need 2 months bank statements. If the DU says, I need 1 month bank statements, the underwriter is gonna put in her conditions 1 month bank statement. So that's how, so sometimes I call an underwriter for if out with, question or something. What does she tell us? Look at your DU. Did the DU ask for it? If the DU asked for it, that's what we need. What does the underwriter does? Verify everything that we put in the computer. So that's how important the loan officer in this equation. Because if the loan officer put in the wrong income, the underwriter is gonna get the paperwork in the system and say, oh, okay, you exaggerated the income. This is not the right income. And now everything goes into a problem. You got it? So what does the underwriter does? Verify information. This is the information, this is what's in the 1003, because the DU is gonna go off what? The loan application. And who puts the loan application in? The loan officer, right? So if those inaccurate, then it's gonna spit a inaccurate DU. I just wanna tell you how important is that DU, because we read our conditions of that DU.
The approval, it's only gonna be as good as the person who input the information, it's good. Right? And that's why sometimes when you guys do cross qualifications yourselves and you show us the DU, hey, do you think this client is okay? What are we gonna ask you for?
Yeah.
Documents. Like, I don't know. He could be making 6,000, he could be making 3,000. I need to check the documents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the DU is only, like Hadia's saying, as good as the information that we're putting in the system.
So that the accuracy of the client's information in the system, that's what's gonna give you an accurate DU. So let me tell you, so in this business, you hear a lot of, or you're gonna hear like a lot of people, they're in transaction and they fell off a transaction, right? So You're selling your house, you have a listing, and the buyer could not close. But that buyer did receive a DU approval. I guess the information, he didn't know the information, he didn't know the income calculations or something. The DU is approved, but he couldn't close the loan. So what I'm saying is, DU is gonna read off the information from in the system. Who puts the information in the system? Us. And it's so hard to find out sometimes the client exactly how much they make, what income they make. Those calculations are so broad, like everybody gets paid differently. Their credit report, sometimes they come in and they have, let's say, collection account. Sometimes the DU says, okay, it's okay. This collection account is okay. But in other cases, it tells you, oh, by the way, this collection has to be paid before close of escrow. Sometimes it tells you, oh, by the way, they owe $5,000 in collection. We have to hit them with 5% payment. So that DU has to be accurate. And then you can read, actually, guys, if you receive a full DU approval from your lender, from whoever lender you're using, you can read actually what kind of conditions the underwriter is going to ask for.
So DU approval is actually a step further than just a regular approval, like an approval is a step further than a prequal.
Yes.
In terms of making your offer look more solid and much more desirable.
Exactly. So many realtors who are on the listing side, they ask for it. So one of the things that we were talking about, how to have a perfect approval for the client, for the lender to receive every single paper needed in their pre-qual stage before they kind of give you the pre-approval letter. We don't give a pre-approval letter based on a client telling me they make $50,000 a year. I do not issue a pre-approval letter based on that. I have to have the income, the pay stubs, the W-2s. We have to run the VOE. We have to have their bank statement, making sure there's no weird deposits. I'm just giving you all the little things that the lender has to check before they give you a pre-approval letter. The pre-approval letter means nothing, by the way. You see them flying all over. They're as good as the lender that gives them. If the lender is good or the loan officer is good, that's how you know. That's why you hear sometimes, oh, by the way, he's a good lender. She's a good lender. Why is that? Because over the years, they proved themselves to close their transactions. They're transparent. They know what they're doing. So that pre-qual versus pre-approval, by the way, 99% of the bank pre-approvals are based on just a conversation with the client, just to let you know. The bank does not collect any paperwork before sometimes they give that pre-approval to the client. And that's why sometimes I get a call from the realtor saying, you know what, they do have this pre-approval from so-and-so bank, right? But they usually don't perform. You got it? So basically, why they don't perform? Because they never looked at the people's information. They don't have a solid numbers, whatever is in the computer, whatever the client, you could call and say, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor and I make $10,000 almost every month for the last 12 months. That's what they're gonna put, but when they receive your tax returns and see that you have not paid $100,000 or $120,000 in net income, that income changes, that pre-approval means nothing. Pre-qual means nothing. So I'm just, we want to capitalize on, if you have a good pre-approval that the lender has everything, looked at everything, you can go and put offers and we can, a good lender can close the transaction within 15 to 20 days max. You don't want to go scramble around documents in the middle of the transaction. And that's what gives you bad name, gives you bad reputation. It overwhelms you, we get those calls all day.
It overwhelms the client too.
All day long. by the way, we're on this date and we are still not understand what's going on. Oh, the lender's still telling us this or that. Oh, the lender's still, you got what I'm saying? You don't want that in your life. To make you a good realtor, you have to trust who you work with, and you have to know when they give you that pre-approval, they look at everything possible in that file, and it's gonna close on time. Because the minute on that day of closing or funding and you didn't fund, what's gonna happen with the listing agent? Calling you. And who you're gonna call? You're gonna call the lender. What's going on? Are we gonna fund today? So it overwhelms your life, takes away from your life to go and get a new business. By the way, I was a realtor for a long time. I had to work with the lender that answered their phone all the time. I don't care, 10 o'clock at night, they have to answer their phone. If not, they have to text me saying, you know what, I'll call you back. They're there, they are, my business depends on them to answer their phone. Is that correct? So I just want to let you know how important, because we get calls. Like yesterday, we went through 3 cases from trying to save 3 deals. And those take so much out of us, because I'm
We're
trying
getting
to...
the file late, 1 week before closing.
Right before closing. Oh, by
Right.
the way, how long you still need? I have this week. We should close this week. Well, how come we're gonna close you this week? I mean, to get everything. Did the other lender tell you why they're not able to close this deal? Well, they've been still waiting on so and so. They have been, saying this and this. So what I'm saying is that I sometimes tell them, either you get another extension, let's look at it. We try, but some of them, we have no idea what the lender's saying versus what's really happening. You got it, guys? So here is, as a buyer's agent, you have to have a good pre-approval ahead of time. Don't rush the lender. Don't rush them, unless they are they don't care when they're gonna give you that pre-approval, right? But don't rush them oh, okay, can I go show homes right now? We get those all the time. Can we go show approval? Well, I still don't have the verification of employment. This client shows that he's been in the job for a year and 2 months. I do not know what they did before. It looks like he thinks that he's been out of work for 4 months. I do not know exactly what's the gap of employment. We need to find all those little details. Some other clients, they're cool, they're easy. But some people, things happen, they move jobs, they used to get bonus, now they get commission. Can I use the bonus and the commission, factoring in their income? You got it? All of this, we have to give you a good pre-approval. Because anything it changes in their income, it changes all their approval amount. Right? So I just wanted to capitalize on the approval to get the deal.
Do you want
That
to
I-
talk about the contingencies?
I want to talk about contingencies.
Talk about.
That's why I'm
She
here
loves
today.
contingencies.
I love contingencies because it happens to us. Doesn't everybody knows what contingencies are? Okay. Contingencies are in every purchase contract. It tells you have 21 days, I think, on the 17 days on the pre-approval
From the day
That you open.
from the day of opening escrow.
The day that you sign.
It's accepted.
So 17 days rule.
Yeah.
So those contingencies, some listing agents, they follow line by line to remove contingencies, by the way. I cannot brag about us, but we do a lot of transactions. We just got an award yesterday that we are #1 in closing in the top 3 lenders that they close the most transactions. We became #1 closings, just to let you know. Thank you. I don't want to brag about it, but I just want to let you know I deal with a lot of listing agent and selling agent. I have noticed, the minute I look at the listing agent, we know that this listing agent has no mercy. The hour that they supposed to sign contingency removal, they're gonna send it to the buyer's agent, right? So that's how much important to do all of this before the contingency period. Loan approval, appraisal, inspections. you guys have to make sure like the inspections are done at the beginning. Sit with your client, go through the inspection, and some buyers say, oh, okay, we want to go and ask the seller if they can fix. All of this has to be done within the 17 days.
It's always the loan that holds, for me, that's always held stuff up. It's never been all the other ones.
Actually, the loan approval is the easiest. We get a loan approval within a week. The loan approval, now, sometimes we are waiting if the listing agents said, talk to their seller and see if they wanted to fix this or do that or whatever, and the appraisal. Those all in 17 days, okay? So I'm just letting you know, when time is tough and the inventory is low and you are competing, one thing I can tell you could work in your behalf and on your side to lower the contingency period on your purchase price, on your purchase contract. So what I do is I talk to my buyer's agent and I say, we have everything. Let's give them an offer with 10 days contingency instead of 17 days.
All
Right?
contingencies?
Loan contingency,
All contingencies.
all contingencies,
10 days?
10 days. I did it in 7 days. Ask Nico. So that's how you, but all of this has to start with good pre-approval. Go ahead, Nico.
Brianna, that you got an award for one of the fastest closings.
We close in 10 days or 12 days.
They closed in 12 days. You're awarded for the fastest closing FHA loan.
Yeah.
And that's because you have the underwriters with you over there, or is it assistant?
No, because we have the full file.
We
Like-
submit a file that is like all they're gonna ask me is maybe insurance and appraisal.
They know what they're looking for, so they give them everything
Yeah.
all at once, so there's not an additional back and forth between emails and, oh, we still need this. No, they know what they need and they send everything at once. She's doing it for me right now with the VOE, which could take up to 40 to 60 days to get done. She's getting it done in like 25.
Oh, wow.
We have the VOE loans.
The VOE,
Yeah.
The VOE only, you also need the DU approval? Or
You-
is it separate?
We go through DU approval, but we don't submit the
Oh.
full
It's just a VOE loan. Like, there's
VOE,
no
just we
base stuff,
submit the
there's no
VOE
anything.
for the
Yeah.
client.
But what if the inspection, something comes up in the inspection and we've already told them 10 days?
Yeah, so basically that's why usually I tell you that the appraisal, I can order it fast. I can submit and I get an approval fast. The minute I can get the approval, I can look if there's anything, could be any delays on the transaction, but at the same time, the inspection, the home inspection is on your court,
Or
not my court.
If you can get the home inspection in the same week that your offer gets accepted.
That's the best.
That's a great thing. That's why if you have a great relationship with a home inspector, that's always, it's like relationship. This business is about relationships with everybody.
Also, it
including-
depends on the house too, right? And every client too, not every transaction or every client are gonna be the same. If the house looks like might need some work, right? Maybe you don't wanna do 10 days, maybe you wanna do 15 or 14, right? But you have to assess the client and the house that you're working with
True.
to see what kind of contingency period you're looking for. I mean, if you're talking about a new build house, everything looks good, right? 10 days is fine, if there's nothing that's gonna come up really. But if it's an older house that needs repairs, maybe you wanna do 12, 15, right, depending. Same thing goes for the loan approval themselves, like if the client is ready to go and we have everything, that's when we feel confident to do 10 days, right? If it's a different application, maybe we'll tell you, let's do 13, 14, but we'll help you from the beginning, set up the expectations and how fast we can get this down to get your offer accepted.
So the situation of the house, it's on you. So if you go look at the house and you know that it needs tons of repairs, right? Right? I didn't look at the house, you know the house. So you might say in your purchase contract, like offer to the listing agent, right? I mean, the inspection or the appraisal inspection will be done, right? But if there is lenders required repairs, it's on the seller. You got it what I'm saying, lenders credit repairs? So, yeah, so lenders credit repairs. For the people that they are, have you been doing a lot of transaction? I wanna be specific because listen, I learned a lot about, being in details. I like details. I like to give details. Go ahead, Nico.
Like the appraiser, what she's saying is the appraiser will point out stuff.
Yes.
That'll need, like, if the door hinge is an auto
Right.
closing on the, going to the garage, and the appraiser points that out, that'll be lender required repair. If there's a leak in the roof, obviously on an FHA loan, that'll be a lender required repair.
Right. So when the appraiser goes out and checks out the property, if they see anything needs to be repaired, it's called lenders required repairs. That those repairs must be done by the seller before close of escrow, and we have to send the appraiser back out again and check them out before we close escrow. You got it? So basically, I can go look at this house and I say, oh, that clock, this. He puts it on the report. Those needs to be done. Now, we did the inspection, the value came out okay, and that what is the appraisal contingency removal is about. So the appraisal contingency removal is like the loan contingency removal. Okay? So some listing agents say, you know what? I wanna remove the contingency on the appraisal. What does that mean? If that house comes in lower than what the buyer is offering, the buyer is willing to come up with the difference. So that's appraisal contingency removal, not the repairs. Okay? The repairs, we send them to the selling agent and say, you know what, guys, those repairs needs to be done. If they don't fix them, by the way, it's on them. But as long as we order the appraisal, the value comes in within the 10, 12, 15, 17 days period, that what is the contingency that the buyer has to take care of. So what is 10 days? What is 12 days contingency? What is 17 days? If you know that the property, your offer is gonna get accepted, by the way, do not mess with the contingency removal. Keep it the same way. But like, literally, I sometimes I have to kind of think outside the box. Yesterday we were putting a client of mine, I qualified him months ago. He calls me from Bakersfield and he said, I saw this house, 1.1 million. I want this house. Okay? When he talked to the listing agent, happened to have, she has 3 offers. So we're trying right now to remove contingencies. He is willing to do that. I know he is qualified. I have all his documents. Income, bank statements, credit, everything looks perfect, right? I'm not gonna have any issue with the loan. I said, what happens if your buyer's agent submits a maybe 5 days or no contingency or no contingency period? It is as good because if your buyer puts $30,000, $20,000, $5,000 in escrow, they're gonna lose that money if we do not close escrow, right? So this is how big, you're gonna have to kind of say go into that business, confident. That's what that. So we use it, not every single time. Whenever the market right now, by the way, the market is a little, hard to get your offer accepted. Is that correct? Sometimes it's better in this area than outside of here. By the way, if you go to the valley, you go to Simi Valley, there's not much properties out there.
There's 45 single-family homes for sale right now in Simi Valley.
Yeah.
That I saw in SRA.
Right. I mean, I have a client, she is looking in Westlake Village. Within her community where she is looking at, and it's a big community, it's 5 homes for sale.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is sometimes you have to compete. So that's how close of a relationship you have to have with the lender and have heart-to-heart talk, saying, okay, can I do this? I suggest a lot of things to my realtor, saying, okay, what happens if we do this? You don't want to do it on every transaction, okay? We usually have fast approvals, like within 4 days, 5 days, we have a full loan approval, from the underwriter already looked at it, it's put her approval. We ordered appraisal. Usually there's not much competition right now, so we're getting the appraisal very, very fast. not in the old days, like when the COVID was like lots of transactions going on and we couldn't find appraisers to go out to the properties fast. Right now, within 1 or 2 days, we have the appraisal report.
So let's say you get a full deed approval, you make an offer, it's accepted. So you're going to write an offer, right? So you could feasibly, on the loan contingency, shorten the time period for that while keeping the other ones maybe a little bit more.
You can.
So you could do like the loan contingency, if you already have it, you
Right.
say there is no loan contingency, but there's a contingency for repairs and
Or
appraisal.
appraisal or inspection, you can keep those, you know.
Yes.
So I wanted you guys to be investing time in your business, okay? Literally. If you don't invest time in your business, don't depend on the company you work for just to teach you that time, like half an hour or an hour or 3 hours a week. Tons of YouTubes, how to write offer, you know, what's contingencies are. How does the form look like? Have you ever looked at the contingency removal form? Actually, the listing agents usually send whatever contingency they wanna check out. Let's say loan contingency. But everything else, not a check, that means you're not removing contingency on everything else, just the loan. You know? Or the appraisal. They wanna remove appraisal contingency. Just they check that, and sometimes they check all of them. It's 17th day or 20th day, I want it out. I had this realtor, literally on the 17th day, we're closing escrow. Docs are in the escrow. The buyer is going to sign it. I want the contingency removal to be moved. I'm like, we're closing, we're funding actually in the morning. It doesn't matter, you know, no. I want that to be signed. So you find a lot of personalities, a lot of people, how they conduct their business. Some people, they're rigid, like they follow certain, so you have to know as well who you're working with.
What do you think about a lender, and I don't know if they're really supposed to do this, what do you think about a lender who also is the realtor for the transaction, they're doing both?
You know what, I mean, oh, by the way, we're having one that we get an offer accepted, and that realtor does both, right? He became mean right away. He's so,
calling on like,
he's
like
calling
January 1st, 7 a.m. it's a fine underwriting, and we got the offer accepted on New Year's. Like, it was completely different, like.
yeah,
very
like we
special
got
person.
accepted, and on the first, where nothing open on
But
like,
the bank is closed, I can't.
it's like, did you order the appraisal? It's like, we still don't have anything from escrow, we didn't, you know what I'm saying? So basically, they kind of, I can see it because they wanna show off like, oh, you know, I want both. To be honest, I have got calls from people that they did both, and they got sued big time. Because when you are involving in both, if any complaints from the buyer, it's like you cannot kind of get out of that, where you fail, where you're trying to take advantage of the buyer and stuff like that.
Because
I mean,
I had that, and he kept pushing the close of escrow. So I was like, okay, then I'm sending you $150 per day per diem. And he signed it, he agreed to it, he paid for it, for his clients. Because, you know, sometimes you have to kind of light the fire under their
yeah.
ass, so to speak.
Yeah, but I know that they get sued the most when they are handling, and some of them, they lose their license, because the minute the buyer's not happy, you are holding so much in buyer's benefits, so sometimes you kind of like, you're not fair to the transaction, you know? So, I have 2 ladies actually in the valley, and they were referred to me to see if I handle their, you know, lending transactions, because they were, I mean, it's highly to be sued more. So that's why it's better to keep it separate, and stuff like that.
Agreed.
Believe me, I could have done that like a piece of cake. I could have done the both transactions like this, but it's not fair for my client. And I'm not gonna give it the best. I have some of my buyers, old buyers, like, can you come and look with us for homes. You know, they trust my judgment, they want me to be there, and I'm like, if I go half a day, look at houses with you, what's gonna have to happen to my clients that I'm serving all day long? That's why this guy cannot handle everything, you know, all at once in
He's
this
lucky
timely
he had a
manner.
great assistant, that's all I can say.
Hmm?
He's lucky he had a great assistant.
Yeah,
Who
yeah. I
who
mean,
kind
you
of
know,
made me not get really mad at him, because she
Yeah.
was so like approachable and communicative.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, do I recommend it? I don't. Okay? If it happens, try to, as long as they close on time. Like I said, I mean, we were put in situations where like, when we receive the offer, they know we close fast, 17 days escrow. And I'm like, Brandon, what happened? He's like, well, I had to get my offer accepted, so I put 17 days, and I know you can do it in 17 days. So always have a communication with the lender who's handling your transaction.
So do you recommend calling the lender when we're putting in the offer?
Of course.
I'm gonna be calling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the other day, realtor told me that he's putting in an offer, but then it's not gonna get accepted because the house is the flip. So when a house
Yeah,
is
you
a
have-
flip and it's FHA loan, you have to wait for the 91 days to write the offer. But that's it, the listing agent wanted, you know, he was gonna accept it, he was just waiting. We called the listing agent, hey, I know that the offer's gonna get accepted like next week. Anything that you need, like just give them a good word about the client, let them know everything so they can feel confident and accept the offer. And from my end, I already started talking to the client, hey, send me the latest pay stub, send me the most recent bank statement. So now, once the offer gets signed, I have it all ready to go, right? And that's how I'm able to close it so fast. Either Hadia or me, because we are involved even with the listing agent. We're talking to them, hey, I know that so-and-so, Charlie maybe put an offer for this client. I just wanted to let you know we have all the documents in, credit is in. We give a good word for you guys. So
A couple hints, that's
Yeah.
great that you said that. So basically, we qualified a client for you last week. We gave you the pre-approval, we said everything is fine, right? Always, I would recommend run a property profile, guys, and see if it has been flipped. Because we have 90 days flip rule, especially on FHA. So basically, if, your name? Sergio. If Sergio bought a house, right? And then he fixed it and everything, and he put it back on the market within those 90 days, by the way, FHA cannot go. We have to have 91 days, not 90.
Is it 91 days before it can be put on the market, or 91 days before it can actually close escrow?
No, not even
No.
close escrow, you
Okay.
have to write the offer.
write the contract,
Okay, so it has to be like day
91.
or 92 to be
Yeah.
safe.
So
No,
let's
it's 90.
Okay.
this is important, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Always run property profile. Always run some like numbers for the buyer, and say, oh, okay, this looks like, you know, the value is there. Right? Do not go and jump the hoops and put an offer way ahead, and knowing the house is not gonna appraise.
Once we had a client, remember the one in Visalia? We had a client and the realtor, well, I guess nobody checked, like the comparables on that house, and we got the house in. It turned out that the house appraised $100,000 less
Yeah.
than what it was sold for. They were selling it at like 420, came in at 340, something crazy like that. So then I saw it, I'm like, I've never had this. So I called the realtor, hey, it appraised 100,000 less. She's like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, did you run comps? So then she goes, she runs the comps. She's like, yeah, that's what it's worth. So it's good to do all of this at the beginning, from the beginning stage, so we can set up that success, and so we can set up the expectations and make sure we're offering a correct amount too, right?
Yeah, I mean, trying to look at the buyer, to be honest with you, and say, you know what? If I'm a buyer and I see a realtor in front of me doing all those things that I do not know, I'm gonna get impressed, right? True? I'm gonna get impressed. It's like, oh, you know what? I didn't get a chance to, you know, look at this or look at that. Okay, and what other issues other things we tell the realtors, like when you submit your offer, guys, this, I can talk about me coming up with ideas to help you guys you get your offer accepted, right? So I tell you, like, you know what, CC Karol when you submit your offer to the listing agent. So now, we know Sergio submitted an offer to Scott on this client. Oh, by the way, I'm CCing my lender on this email, letting you know that if you have any questions, you can reach out to them. What we do, we usually email back saying, oh, thank you all, we're looking forward to open this transaction with you, letting you know that we have a complete file on this buyer. It should not take us long to close this deal. We have a complete file. If you have any questions, we have it all ready to go. Hope to open escrow soon. So it kind of like gives a little sense of connection with the listing agent.
Yeah, because usually lenders don't respond.
Right.
No, we always
But we
like.
do.
Yeah,
That's
so
why I tell
some
them.
of the lenders don't care when.
They don't care.
Neither do
They don't-
realtors.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is it's so important to like kind of involve us. So I know Sergio's, have, Scott is looking for a house now. Like he's putting offers out so I can look at Scott if there's any little thing missing still in his file, or we have to update something in the file so we can work on it. But contingency removal, sometimes it comes handy. But if your lender tells you wait, do not submit. I wanna make sure one little thing is still perfect before we kind of cut the contingency removal. I usually don't recommend it unless the market is cutthroat. And we know that a client is good, everything is cool, and I tell you, yeah, let's submit it with 10 days, let's submit it with 12 days. And to be honest with you, I don't wanna change ourselves, it's like it always worked. When we cut the escrow time and the contingency removal time.
It's a combination of like doing that and also us reaching out to the listing agent and sending that email. You have no idea. It works so good.
It works.
Because nobody else does it. Those little things, nobody else is doing it.
Because every time that we submit an offer, we're protecting the deposit from the client.
Right.
We don't want to put like, you know what, we're gonna close in 20 days and they're gonna lose their deposit because we're not sure about the pre-qualifications.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we are hoping that the lender is doing their job.
Yeah.
We're crossing.
True.
Okay, yeah, this looks like it's gonna go through.
It's a
So,
team effort.
but when we submit an offer, like you guys saying that everything is there, and you guys, you know what? I give you my word, this is gonna close. So I'm like, we're like, as long as we build that relationship and we know that you guys close, it's like.
The
I
things
say-
that we do to jump over hoops to get the offer accepted, you'll be amazing.
Mhm.
And sometimes, by the way, maybe that client, we cannot remove 10-day contingencies, but we'll tell you, hey, this client, his situation is this, and this. You have
Yeah.
to do it in 12, 15, 17.
Yeah, we'll tell you. We'll tell you, is it safe, it's not safe, you understand? I don't recommend it on this client. The other thing we can do actually, turn it off, Carol. Look at me, accepting calls. But another thing actually that I wanted you guys to understand as far as the clients and their pre-approvals and everything else, if you wanted to make sure as well, which is we did it not on every file, but we do it occasionally, which is we submit an underwriting approval before we have you put offers. So basically the client already, their income documentation already been looked by the underwriter. Got it? So that's another way.
Do that?
Yeah?
Yeah, especially on like wonky files. So for example, Jackie, we had a client that we were talking about, Jerry. Situation's a little bit different. We're not getting an approval, but maybe it could work if we do X, Y, Z, right? We submit it to underwriting. It's called TBD underwriting.
So there's a lot of awkward situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no idea,
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
you know?
Yeah.
We had this client, he said, I've been rejected by 4 lenders. I'm like, why? He's like, the way I get paid, which is so confusing. I mean, for a lender to look at how they get paid on their paycheck and how it's not lining up. I mean, it took me, she's like, did you see this paycheck? Can I send it to you? And I'm like, so we had to go through 4 levels of HR till we get exactly what we need to give them the income. I mean, we actually,
Because it was different. It was a new job. He was getting
Yeah.
sometimes per diem, sometimes hourly, sometimes salary, sometimes
Yeah.
this. Like, okay, and his year to date was like something not matching whatever he's getting paid right now. So it's sometimes
yeah,
you gotta.
it's
do
like he made
extra.
$100,000 and they have somewhere in his paycheck $20 an hour,
Yeah.
40 hours a week. I'm like, where's that $100,000 came from? So you
Yeah.
got, you know, situations, you know, I mean, I wish I could write a book.
And
And it works.
It worked, yeah.
the hardest that I get in my,
Huh?
one of my files was in a chef for the Hollywood industry.
Yeah, we have those a lot.
Oh wow, that was crazy, insane how he got paid.
They're fun.
We have them a lot.
Yeah.
So basically, when you work for the studios, right? The studios, they work for the studios.
Mhm.
That means, let's say, what's your name?
Tyler.
Tyler. Let's say Tyler works for, like, let's say, a landscaper
Mhm.
for the movie industry, right? So they send him from one set to another
Yeah.
to do, you know, we have thousands of those. So, you know, because they keep referring from one client, they refer us to
Yeah,
other
because
client.
they don't close anywhere.
No.
Because the way they get paid.
No, it's
Because he got hired from you, and you pay me 20,000 for.
and then the
for
other,
today.
the other
The other one
company,
pays
10,000, 5,000,
And the
8,000.
one- And they,
Yeah, but
and
we
you
do
pay
it.
me W-2, he pays me
Even
as a
once,
That's fine.
we did
subcontractor,
one
and
for somebody for the NFL, and he was special because he gets paid sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it's seasonal and it's this and it's that.
Mhm.
So those things sometimes
We had
helps.
48
Yeah.
W-2s for one of those clients.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I mean, we collected them all.
Mhm.
And then we had to collect every single paycheck he got for this year, so to give him the right income.
Yeah.
And usually we average on those clients. We want to make sure this year and last year's income the same. It's easy. That's easy. It's just collecting the documents is the hard part. Like if people don't keep their documents together. So contingencies removals. Everybody understands a little bit out of it what we are trying to kind of bring into the table to you guys. So basically, like, you know, by the way, I cut my contingency removal for 13 days or 12 days or 15 days instead of 17 days. Realtors like that. That means your client's money on the line if they don't close within the 14 days,
So basically, if you say, Scott, I can close this in
20
14
days.
or 20 days, you could actually write your offer for a 20-day escrow or a 21 or
Yes.
however you want to do that, rather than
30 days or
30
45
or
days.
45 days,
Yeah,
which makes it look a little bit more attractive too.
right, right, right. I wanted to bring in something to the table to you guys because many of you work with buyers and you wanted that buyer after months of looking at homes, as you know, putting them in your car, going around, this house, not that house, and then, you know, here you're submitting an offer, what can I make my offer better than any other offer, right? I rather, if I'm selling a house, to go 20 days, 20 days escrow than 45 days escrow because there's bigger chance for that buyer to cancel within 45 days than 20 days, okay? Right? For people that they already moved out or they already have an offer on another property and they want their home sold as well. You got it? So work with your buyers. When you bring in your buyer, you have to prepare them as well. The faster we can get the approval, the faster we can kind of like open escrow.
Mhm. Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yep.
I mean, I know we took the full hour and I took, we talked a lot. But I love working with all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing in us your deals. Thank you for believing in all our ability. And I'm bringing in lunch. I put it in my office. I put it in my, I'll get it.
Quick question on the BOE.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Put it in my car.
Okay. What is it?
Go ahead.
Good question on the BOE.
On the BOE loan?
only.
Yeah.
What are the basics on the VOE?
So the verification of employment, 3.5% down, okay?
Okay.
The verification of employment has to be done by a third-party vendor, like a credit company,
Oh, okay.
okay? So it's not like I sent you this and you fill it
Yeah.
out, yeah. We call the creditor, we ask them to complete it, they call the employer, and the employer completes it.
Mm.
We'll talk to the employer first,
Okay.
yeah. So make sure everything is good.
Yes.
And everything is verifiable. The employment has to be real. They're gonna verify online if it's real or not, right? They're gonna verify that the company exists on the business website. They have maybe, they're in the Secretary of State. They have their own website, something like that, just to verify it's a real job. And yeah, that's it. It's pretty easy, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But you can do sometimes like VOE only without having to go, like if the client has a pay stub, then we can do regular FHA loan. So it depends on the situation.
Okay, okay. And in regards to the 1 year conventional loans, do you still have those?
Yeah,
Yeah. And also the DU has to say, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So if, that's a good question that Sergio is pointing out. So sometimes, remember guys how we're telling you DU makes a big difference, like it's gonna give us the conditions? A lot of times on conventional loans, if the client has been self-employed for 5 years, if your client has been self-employed for 5 years, 99% of times, the DU is gonna say 1 year of taxes only.
I had someone go pick it up.
Oh, you did?
Carol, can you see that last line? It's 1 year or something?
On conventional loans, if the client has been self-employed for 5 years, most times we can do only 1 year taxes.
Can we do that next time?
Huh?
Can we do that next time?
Next time, we're
Chill.
gonna bring in some champagne, wine.
We're like, probably everybody drank a lot last week.
So.
Guys, come
Those are different, I did tuna, come on.
And
Come
in
on over.
regards to,
Yeah.
You like saturate,
What do you like? There's ham,
This one?
turkey.
The slide with your information, like your contact and yeah, that one.
But I can give you my contact. Hold on.
make sure I get a picture
How are you?
Happy New Year.
How's everything? Everything's good. You're working for, are you like the assistant or a realtor? I'm both. Both? I'm working for the administrative assistant. Oh, you are? But like full-time. Like someone who's computer, organizational, filling out the contracts, not personal contracts like, you know. Okay, have you come? Tuna, ham, and these
How's it going? How'd you guys make it? I was on your guys' side of town yesterday. Oh, really? Yeah, I was at their office yesterday trying to take some stuff. But I have to go back again today, so you'll see me again. What's that?
Celebrate, what's it called? The Three Wise Men, right? We celebrate over the weekend. It's a Mexican tradition. We order a bread. I eat half of the damn thing throughout the day.
tuna and ham.
Oh, this is something different.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Thank you, Hadia.
My name is Elizabeth.
Hadia.
Nice to meet you, Hadia. Thank you so much.
Tyler, nice seeing you. Good.
Thank you so much for the fruit.
Thank you. Sergio, I want to meet you.
How you doing? All good? Feeling good? Feeling better? Oh, yeah, for not back rooms in Tropics. Rooms in Tropics. Yeah, room stuff. Give me. Are you gonna be out for the rest of the day? No. Just, like how just like showing me like these documents and things. So what it is we can actually send you to your rooms. Let me cancel that. Let me turn to